You, me, and HIFMB. Stories of Science and the Sea.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to the next episode of the HIFMB podcast. As you can hear, unfortunately, like in the last episode, I'm still on the road, and conference season is back in full swing, and so that's why the audio quality isn't that great. In the intro only, the episode will be good quality again. So in this episode, I talked to Soli Levi, who works on a really interesting and very unexplored topic, which is emotions. So emotions in environmental science and environmental management and that sort of stuff. So it's a really insightful new topic for me to explore and chat about. So I learned a ton in this episode, and I'm sure you will as well. She's had an awesome life career, and I'm sure she will continue to do so. Maybe even becoming a cheesemaker, as she says in the episode. So, without any further bad audio quality, I give you Soli Levi.
Welcome to the next episode of the HIFMB podcast. And today I have Soli Levi, and coastal and marine scientist and a PhD student here. Hello.
Hello, Jan. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, no worries. How is it?
How's the PhD?
How's the PhD? How's life?
Oh God, that's a hard question. I guess pretty good. I'm at a stage now where I've gotten past trying to understand what my PhD actually is and actually trying to do something with it, which is this theoretical framework. So I've been trying to work on that for the last couple of months.
Yeah.
Or I think it's working on me really, but.
Is it? Oh no. When did you join?
Yeah. Oh, I started in September.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
This year?
Yeah, well, last year.
Last year, yes, of course.
What year is it? 2021, yeah, September.
Yeah, exactly, yeah.
Yeah.
All the corona years that blend into one.
Yeah, it's all the same, really. Time isn't real anymore.
Okay, can you give us a quick rundown of your project?
Yeah, so I'm doing a PhD trying to explore the relationship between emotion and marine governance, which sounds kind of irrelevant at first, but if you start to pick it apart, you can see like the oceans have always been a really emotional place because so many people live by the oceans and work by the oceans. It's their livelihood. So many people have cultural and spiritual and emotional connections to the ocean. And so it's a really integral part of how we approach the oceans, but it doesn't feature at all in any of our marine governance approaches.
Yeah.
So, yeah, the project is just trying to see if there can be space for emotion in marine governance and how that can take shape and how the governance and emotion can actually influence each other.
Do you know how you can reach that yet, or have you?
I have a plan in place.
Okay.
It's very kind of ambitious. So I have 3 overall objectives. So because this area of study is relatively or completely new, my first objective is to create a theoretical framework that can support future and this projects that are looking at emotion and marine governance. So that's currently what I'm working on, and I'm taking inspiration from feminist theory, geographic theory, sound studies, like border studies, a bunch of different things, and trying to mash them up together to create this new theory. And then after that, I'm going to do a couple different case studies to illustrate how emotions and marine governance interact, like in, quote, the real world.
Okay.
And my study site will be in a particular marine area in Northern Ireland / the Republic of Ireland. And after the case studies, I'm going to take the theoretical framework, simplify it because it's going to be kind of like theory and academic jargony. And I'm just going to simplify that into this policy toolbox so that hopefully decision makers or communities can pick up the toolbox and it can just have like simple steps of how to account for emotions and marine governance, how to make space for it. So, and then the case studies that are my empirical data will be just a way to illustrate whatever I put in the toolbox. Yeah, so that's kind of the main plan for the next 3 years.
Do you have a name for the theoretical framework yet?
Yes.
What's it called?
It's just governance, emotion, mediation framework. So it revolves around this concept of mediation, but I could talk about that for like 2 hours and sound like the ravings of a lunatic. So I don't know if we go on it now, but it's up to you.
Okay.
Yeah.
I bet in Northern Ireland there's some mediation to be done there if it's like a place between the Republic of Ireland and...
Yeah. So in Ireland, on the island of Ireland, there's these like marine areas called lochs, and they're basically like the opposite of a peninsula. They're a body of water that intrudes into the land, and it's almost completely surrounded by land, but it still retains its marine characteristics, and it's called a loch. And there's a particular one called Loch Foyle, and it lies exactly on the border between the Republic of Ireland and Northern Ireland, which is part of the United Kingdom. And no one can or wants to decide who the body of water belongs to.
Okay.
And there's several competing claims, like the UK claims that they own the entire loch up until the shoreline of the Republic of Ireland. But then the Republic of Ireland is like, no, that makes no sense. So it's very, very tense, and there's a lot of historical, cultural, religious, socioeconomic tensions, very, very high tensions running around that border. So it is very emotional. So that's kind of the prime place to try to explore.
How did you pick it? The place?
I lived in Ireland for the 3 years before I came to this job in September, so I was really familiar with the like coastal and marine, I guess, environment there.
Okay.
And I had actually come to the HIFMB with a completely different project proposal, but at the end it really wasn't the right one. So my supervisor, Kim, suggested that maybe I look for something closer to home. And as I was looking, I found this one place, and I was like, oh my God, this is
I see.
perfect. So there's going to be, that one study site, and then a bunch of mini case studies around it to show the different aspects of emotion and marine governance in one place. Yeah.
So you first approached Kim with a proposal for a PhD, and then she said, "Oh no, there's an open position which would." Be
it was an
suited?
open position. I didn't come with a proposal because
Right. Okay.
I didn't. I applied to a couple different PhDs and wrote proposals, and it was just so time consuming that I promised myself I would never apply to another one with writing a proposal before they hire me. So So this one was just open, and I went with like an idea of what I wanted to do, but it's completely different from what I'm doing now. And at the end, I just realized that what I'm doing now is a better fit.
To you personally?
Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah.
That's brilliant. So your first of all, your name. Where does it come from?
Well, my name Soli, like it comes from the Spanish for sun, which is sol, and the reason it's Spanish is because my dad's family comes from Turkey, but they're in the Turkish Jewish community, and that specific community has roots from the Jews that were exiled during the Spanish Inquisition, 500 years ago. So when they fled, a bunch of them went to like Greece and Turkey, and they're known as like Sephardic Jews because they come from like the very, very west of Europe. And then there's other like groups as well coming from other parts of Europe. But so that's the reason my name is Spanish and also Jewish and Jewish Turkish. It's very specific.
Yeah. Absolutely. And the last name?
And the last name is just it's like the most Jewish surname, Levi.
Levi, yeah. Okay.
Yeah, very biblical.
Like throughout your CV, if you look at it, there's languages everywhere. You speak English, Greek, Turkish, French, German, Dutch, Hebrew, Spanish. I mean, how did you pick these languages up? And
it's at this point it's like I almost feel embarrassment because like anytime I'm like at a party or something and my friends would be like, "Hey, Soli, like tell everyone how many languages you speak," and it's like, not again. But so my mom is Greek and my dad is Turkish, so I grew up in both countries. So they were my first two languages, Turkish and Greek. I just grew up with them. And then I learned English when I was like 9 or 10 when my family moved to America.
Okay.
In 2004.
Hence the accent.
Yeah, unfortunately. So in 2004 we moved there and I picked up English and I was going to Jewish schools there. I stayed in America for 10 years and I went to Jewish schools for most of that time. So Hebrew was a part of the curriculum. So by the time I was 15, I was pretty fluent or completely fluent. But I mean, it's been so long now since I've used it that it's kind of hard to converse. But anytime I go back or, I can, it refreshes.
How quickly does it come back?
I mean, pretty good. Like, it's still in there.
Yeah.
Like, it's still in there. It's just like when you have no one to speak with, it's hard.
Yeah.
And then French I took in high school and college. And that was just a requirement, so I took it. And then German.
But French, you became proficient just through school?
Yeah, I took it for a couple years.
Okay.
And then German, I started, well, before like when I was really young, I was really into heavy metal, and my favorite band was Rammstein. And
Yes.
I always wanted to learn German because of that. That was like the first reason. And then I went to college, and in my first year we had to do like a language credit, so I just started German for a semester. And then after, it's like a whole other story, but I left that college and I left America. And then I came to Germany for 6 months, and I was at the Goethe Institute for 3 months, and it was
Where is that?
well, it's like a German language institute, like all over the world.
Right.
But I was in Bonn
Okay.
when I went there for 3 months, and it was just so intensive that I don't know, picked it up. But also it's really funny because like everyone says that like German grammar is really hard, which it is, but
Yeah.
it's really, really similar to Greek grammar, because Greek also has all the cases and like the tenses.
Yeah.
So I just, in my head, it wasn't as hard to wrap my head around that.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then just the rest. Well, I lived in Maastricht in the Netherlands for my undergrad for 3 years, and I knew German by that time, and Dutch is like so similar.
Yeah.
So
Okay. Yeah. Right.
I can understand Dutch. I can understand Dutch when people speak it to me, but the accent is so hard that I just can't speak it back.
Yeah. Okay.
And then Italian and Spanish I can understand most of, because I can speak French, but I can't really speak. Oh, and also Portuguese.
Portuguese. Oh, that's not even on the list.
Yeah, it's too much.
Yeah.
But yeah, because I don't know. I don't count the languages I can understand but not speak. So
Yeah. Okay.
yeah, so that's
Where does Portuguese come from?
just because of French, because it
Oh,
all
right.
is like so similar that I can just, when you know one, you can know the others.
Yeah. I wish it was
Maybe.
like that for me. I took French in school for like,
Yeah.
I don't know, 4 or 5 years, but I didn't use it, so it just goes away.
Yeah. I guess when you know a couple already,
Yeah.
it's a bit easier to absorb.
Yeah. Exactly. Yes. Sweet.
Yeah.
And so you, on your CV head, it kind of, there's communication sticking out.
Yeah.
From the masses, and I bet those languages come in really handy when you communicate.
Yeah, they do. I mean, most of the communication that I've done is we can talk about it later. I worked for a sea turtle protection society, and my job there was as a public outreach field leader, and I just pretty much gave like speeches and presentations at different venues every single night for like 4 months, and it was like in English and Greek.
Okay.
And yeah, it was a really touristic area, so it was also handy to have the languages to talk to people.
Yeah.
In case they were like German or French, talk to them about turtles. Yeah.
Yeah, sweet.
So that's where the communication mainly comes from.
Yeah.
And also my other volunteer experience at this museum. Yeah.
Okay. Are you gonna? Is Northern Ireland and Republic of Ireland, do they speak the same Gaelic?
It's interesting. So
Okay.
it's one land. Ireland it's an island. It's one landmass.
Yeah.
But it's divided. The majority of it is the Republic of Ireland, which is its own country, its own nation. And then the northern part of it is 6 counties. It belongs to the United Kingdom.
Yeah.
Irish is spoken throughout, but I mean, the main language is English, and Irish is an official language, but it's not spoken so prevalently anymore. It's kind of controversial in like the Northern Ireland, because there's people who want to keep speaking, and there's people that don't want it to be spoken and don't want it to be taught in school because of like historical reasons. So it's a lot more contentious and controversial in the north.
Okay.
And not at all really in the south.
What's it like there? It's just not contentious, it's just spoken.
Yeah, I mean, it depends also, because Ireland was colonized and ruled by the British for 800 years. So the southwest and the northwest tips of Ireland are where there was least British influence, so they held on to a lot more of like the indigenous Irish culture and language, and less so when you come further east, closer to the UK. But I mean, it's taught in schools, but from everyone that's told me, it's taught so badly that like no one really.
Yeah. Okay.
It's just no one speaks it. Everyone just speaks English. Yeah.
Yeah. It's I lived with a Welsh housemate in England, and he really spoke Welsh. I guess that's taught better then, or
yeah. It depends where you come from.
Yeah.
As well, because like if you come from like the Northwest, the Southwest, it's a lot more likely
Yeah.
that you'll be fluent
In Welsh.
in Irish.
In Irish, okay.
Yeah.
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 It depends a lot, like where you come from and your
Okay.
family, if they speak it as well.
Are you gonna pick it up for your study?
Honestly, it's the one language that's ever like foiled me,
Yeah.
because all the other ones have been pretty easy to pick up, but Irish is like, it's so different from anything else. It's
Can you
just-
call it Irish? So,
Yeah, Irish.
okay,
It's
right.
different. Like Scottish, you say Scottish Gaelic
Yeah.
or Gaelic, but Irish is just Irish.
Okay, right.
Yeah, it's so crazy.
Yeah.
Like there's so many silent letters and just all the vowels are pronounced differently. It's infuriating. But
Yeah.
I do want to learn it because it's so beautiful. But it might take me my whole life. You know?
The life's journey right
Yeah.
there. Okay, so if we go through your CV, so you already mentioned you kind of like started in the US a little bit, but then started your bachelor's in Maastricht, was it? No.
Yeah, Maastricht
Yeah,
University.
Maastricht.
So a very long story short, I started like I was in the US and I graduated from high school there, and then I started a bachelor's degree in biology at a university there. But the whole 10 years we were living in America, we were on a visa and not a green card. And because of like a really minor like bureaucratic issue, our visa was revoked. So we just had to leave after 10 years of living there. So I had to leave my college, which sucked because I loved it so much.
Which college was it?
It's really small. It's called St. Mary's College of Maryland.
Okay.
In Maryland, the
Yeah.
state. Because so I was doing biology because my dream was to be a marine biologist. That was like my life's dream. So I was going to do that and then move on.
Okay.
But I had to leave that. And then I just had to find a way to like start over. So I have some cousins living near Cologne. So I stayed with them for 6 months while I was trying to figure out what to do.
Yeah. And where did your parents go?
Barbados.
Oh, okay, right.
Of course.
Why not?
Because my dad has like a friend of his there who invited him like to be business partners.
Okay.
So they were there for like the last 7-8 years, and they just moved to Greece, as one does.
Yeah.
But yeah, so I was in Cologne for 6 months trying to figure out my life, and I needed to start university again, so I was looking in the area for degrees, but most of them were like in German or Dutch, so it was really hard to find a biology degree in English.
Yeah.
So I found this one degree in Maastricht University called European Public Health, and I was like, well, that sounds kind of like biology. It's close enough. And I went there really hopeful, but it turned out not to really be close to it at all, aside from like diseases. So I really didn't enjoy it, to be honest, but I stuck with it because I didn't want to like quit and start over a third time.
Yeah, okay. I mean, the first time wasn't your fault though.
Yeah, but I felt like I already lost like a year and a half, so I didn't want to start over again.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then in the meantime, during that public health degree, I really wanted to come back to like marine science afterwards, because like it's so irrelevant that I was trying to find summer projects to work on that would make my background more relevant. So I found this sea turtle protection society in Greece called Archelon.
Right. Yes.
So I volunteered there for a year, and then the next year they called me back to be a public awareness leader, so that's why I did that.
Are they an NGO?
Yeah.
Or, yeah, okay, right.
Yeah, and then during my second year there, I met an Irish guy who was a volunteer, and then we just got together, and after that finished, I went to Ireland, because why not?
Okay, right.
And then after my bachelor's finished,
I see, okay, right.
then I went to Ireland, and that relationship didn't work out, but I liked it so much that I stayed, and that's where I applied for my master's.
Okay.
And I had applied for marine biology and coastal and marine management, but I didn't get accepted into the marine biology one. So I just did it because my background wasn't relevant enough,
Yes.
and it was highly competitive. So that's how I ended up in coastal and marine management, which then led me here. So that's a very roundabout description of that story.
Would you still consider yourself, or you wouldn't consider yourself a marine biologist, but...
I mean, no, I would say
No.
marine scientist at this point, even though marine biology is like my favorite thing.
It is? Okay.
Really, honestly, it is. Like, I wish I could just study seaweed and fish and dive all day. I love seaweed so much.
Really?
Yeah, I love it so much. I would still call myself a marine scientist, but I'm not really doing anything with biology right now, so
Yeah.
it's more broad to just say marine science.
Okay.
Yeah.
But are you? I mean, you've ended up in a place where you seem happy with it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, at the end of the day, it's still marine science, and I mean,
Yeah.
I still do like marine biology related
Yeah. I mean,
reading and stuff on the side. So I mean, it's still the same environment, which I'm happy about. Yeah.
And such a unique perspective with that emotions angle and
Yeah, I mean, it's new to me as well because like my whole background is more like natural sciences, like biology, health. Even the coastal and marine management was very heavy on like the coastal processes, physical, sedimentary transport, whatever.
Yeah.
So it's very on the natural sciences side. So this is also my first foray into social sciences.
Yeah. Okay.
It's cool. It's cool having both perspectives.
Yeah.
I feel it's really handy because, like, before I started, if someone had told me about like emotions and marine governance, I would have been like, like. But now I kind of I see like, but it's handy to see both sides because there are so many people that are skeptical of the reason we should have emotions at all. So it really helps me to kind of justify in my head why it actually is important. So it is really handy to have that
and
skeptical side to it.
What do you say to your skeptical side?
Well, now I mean, like, I know now that it's important, but like I think the important thing to stress is that no matter if you're a social or natural scientist, we all work with data and science that eventually is going to impact people in the environment, and people are emotional, so like you can't really escape at some point in your research process. You can't really escape emotion.
Yeah, exactly. I guess it diffuses into every proposal we write and every review we do. And,
because also like aside from like the end point of reaching people, even the research process itself is so emotional. Like it drives you crazy, or like you're really passionate about it, or you're, frustrated. Like there's so many emotions tied up with that do influence research.
Yeah. Do you think you can from getting to that theoretical framework, I forgot the name now,
probably better.
Damn it, the emotion, no, I can't remember. Do you think from that theoretical framework you can arrive at that toolbox and be the policy toolbox, sorry, and be happy with the result straight off the bat, or I just wonder what that process will look like. How will you arrive from one to the other?
Yeah, I mean that's a good question.
Yeah.
I mean, again, right now everything I'm doing is very, very like theoretical and abstract, and it's really challenging. But once that's finished, that's going to guide the empirical portion of the project, which is going to be these case studies.
Yeah.
And then so I'm going to like combine those and just simplify everything into just here's a 5-step process of where emotions and governance intersect. Here is case studies of how this works in the real world. Like
this should be super handy.
Yeah, I mean, I guess simplifying also is really hard to do, but yeah, I think I have some sort of vision.
Yeah.
Yeah, but we'll see. Maybe we can talk again in 3 years.
Exactly. Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
From your master's project in Cork, right?
Yeah.
In Ireland.
Yeah.
You first off you achieved a first class honors in the dissertation, which is nice. So yeah, congrats.
Thank you.
And your dissertation title was Mapping Community Perceptions of Port Developments in Cork Harbour.
Yeah.
And did that kind of set the stage with the perceptions for the emotions coming after, or?
I think in a way yes, because before that I had like no experience with community perceptions at all, but when it came time to do our master's project, I was really trying to combine my 3 areas of interest, which was like communication / community and public outreach. And then I fell in love with GIS during the master. I loved it, so I was trying to those 2, and then also ports. I like ports. So I was trying to I was trying to combine those 3 in some way, and that is what I came up with. And in the region where I was living in Cork Harbour, there's the port of Cork, and there's a lot of redevelopments going on. Yeah, whether it's just a deep water cruise terminal or renovating port facilities or creating recreational areas. These all impact a lot of different communities around the harbor. So I just went there and I asked people, you know, their perceptions about the redevelopments, positive, negative, neutral, unknown. And then I put all of those in a map to see whether there would be areas of like conflict or harmony, and how, like, just try and put like a spatial element and to see how people feel about things and where.
Nice.
And that's
really cool. I've got so many questions now. So first of all, about the wording. What's the difference between port and harbor?
Good question. Well, like a harbor can also be like a natural harbor, like Sydney Harbor, and Cork prides itself on being the second largest natural harbor behind Sydney. So a harbor can be, it doesn't have to be a port. I think a port can be more like commercial for the maritime industry, and I guess it can also be recreational, but more for like trade and economic reasons, I would say a port. And then a harbor is just, you know, an area with, I'm not a harbor expert, so I'm probably not on the dot, but yeah.
But what is it about ports or harbor / that captures your
I mean,
emotions?
I'm a 4th generation Marine person, so like the last,
what does that
like
mean?
I'll tell you. So like my dad and my grandma, his mother, and my grandma's father, my great grandfather, they were all involved in like the maritime industry.
I see.
And they started in like the sail making and rope making business in Turkey, and then my dad branched out to like maritime procurement for like procuring like boats for coast guards and ports.
Nice.
For the last couple of years, and I worked with him for a couple of years on that, so that's, I guess, where that interest came from.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
How young were you when you worked with him?
I mean, I started maybe when I don't know, when I was a teenager, because I was always doing like translations for both my parents, for like between either like English or in Greek or like English and Turkish.
Yeah.
So for my dad, it was always like technical and administrative and like commercial translations for documents, because he works very closely with Turkey and like the US and the Caribbean.
Yeah, okay.
So I would always like be translating Turkish documents into English, which is a horrible job.
Sweet.
So I was doing that for years, and then when the first lockdown happened, when the pandemic started, I had just gone to visit my parents and it happened, so I ended up staying with them for 4 months, and during that time I just worked more intensively with my dad, and like we worked on like tenders for boats and
back in Greece or
in Barbados.
In Barbados. Oh, yes.
Yeah.
Okay, and the third thing that you used in that, so a mixed method to PPGIS approach.
Yeah.
What is that?
Public Participatory Geographic Information Systems.
Yeah.
So it's like GIS, which is like a geospatial like visualization technology. So pretty much just making maps software. And the public participatory is this element which involves working with research participants to create maps. So like I would be asking them like, how do you feel about this port development? Where does it affect you? Where do you feel positively or negatively? And then putting those answers into a map that they make, and then carrying that over into the software and making maps.
And you love making maps?
Yeah. It's just, I feel like it's just so fun, and it's such a creative part of science, I feel, because I don't know, in my master's at least, a lot of what we did was like kind of just really intense academic work, and that was kind of the one outlet of creativity. Yeah. And it's really funny because in like real life I suck at reading maps. I just can't read a map. Like if I don't know where to go, I just get lost so easily, and it's really, really hard for me to read a map. But I like making them.
That's brilliant.
I guess it's two completely different skill sets.
Yeah, lends itself nicely.
Yeah.
And when did you make the decision during your masters to make to have a PhD, to do a PhD, or?
I don't know. I think after I was thinking, I really didn't want to do one, actually. I just because when I was working at that sea turtle organization, it was like doing stuff with my hands, like the conservation. It was like, and the results were like right in front of my eyes, and it was so rewarding because like you protected the nests in June, and in August the nests would hatch, and it was like, oh my God, I helped do that, and it was amazing and rewarding. So I kind of wanted to go into a more hands-on career, I guess. And I really didn't want to do a PhD and be stuck in a boring academic job.
Yeah.
Oh, sorry.
No, that's fine.
But then the lockdown happened, and I was just applying for jobs, and I got like a remote 9-month research assistant position. And during that, I just started liking it more, and I just one day got it into my head that I wanted to do a PhD, and I'm one of those people. It's like once it's in my head, I just have to do it.
Yeah.
So
That's brilliant.
There's like not like one main reason. I just thought of doing it, and then I just had to because I'm stubborn.
Because I'm stubborn,
Yeah,
and
that's
like
the reason.
the same thing that made you finish that public health degree.
Stubbornness.
Stubbornness.
Yeah.
Yeah. Sweet. About that turtle thing. So or about your various positions. Like you've worked as a dive master as well in Greece.
Yeah.
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 Did you enjoy that?
Yeah, it was really, really nice.
Yeah.
Because like my eternal life's dream from when I was a child was like to be a mermaid. And
A mermaid?
Yeah, it was like obviously that's not going to happen, but I always wanted to be a mermaid.
Yeah.
And so I went for a scuba diving lesson in like 2013, just like as a trial, and I just remember so clearly like the first breath I ever took underwater was like like a gasp of amazement. I was like, I can finally do it.
Yeah, I had the same.
Which was like, it's just my life's dream to breathe underwater. So I just instantly, within like the first 2 seconds, I just fell in love.
That's so nice.
And I ended up I guess working through the different scuba courses that Paddy offers.
Yeah.
And then I reached Dive Master, and it was really, really fun. But then I was living in America and then Ireland, and the water there is very, very cold. And it's also very expensive hobby as well. So I haven't really done it in recent times, but it's like my favorite place to be is underwater. Yeah.
Yeah, brilliant. What's diving in Greece like? Where was it, by the way?
It's it's on an island in the Cyclades island group called Sifnos.
Okay.
That's where my grandparents have like a house. I go there like once a year almost.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, it's really cool. It's very different. It's really it's sort of cold, I guess.
It's the Aegean.
Yeah,
Sea?
exactly.
Yeah, okay.
It's the Aegean. Well, I guess it's not so cold, but it's like the outside temperature is like 40 degrees. So when you go into the water and it's like 22, then you just scream, even though it's not really cold. And it's mostly just a lot of stones and like algae covered stones and like a lot of sand. It's very, very sandy, the bottom, and there's a lot of sponges, crustaceans. Like it's not very bright, but it's very beautiful.
A lot of wrecks as well.
Yeah.
Yeah, I've only dived in Turkey and Divin? I don't know.
Went diving.
Yeah, went diving in Turkey, and it was exactly like you describe it.
Yeah.
Yeah, brilliant. And do you wear a hood in 22 degrees water?
No.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, I hate wearing hoods. Okay, and then the turtle protection job.
Yeah.
Yeah. So Archelon.
Archelon.
Okay.
It comes from like there's like a prehistoric giant turtle in like that lived like hundreds of millions of years ago, and it was like the first biggest sea turtle.
Okay.
And the scientific name of it is Archelon, so they named it after that.
I've heard about that. Okay.
Yeah.
What? So and like you said, so there was some nest protection. What's the? Can you give us a rundown of what the job entails?
Yeah. So it's kind of different because the first year I went, it was just volunteering, so they put you to all the different jobs. And the main duty is monitoring, and what that entails is getting up really, really early, like between 4 and 6 a.m. and going to a really secluded beach. Where I was based, it was like the southwest coast of Greece, which is like extremely remote. And it's a really high density of turtle nesting sites.
Yeah. What species is it?
Loggerhead turtle.
Oh, right. Okay.
Yeah. They're the only ones that nest, and then the green turtle also comes to feed, but we're very rarely nest. But it was mainly loggerhead turtles. And yeah, so the main duty was monitoring. So you'd get up, go to the beach, and pretty much walk from one end to the other. And if you came across any nests, what you would do is first you identify where the egg chamber is. And you can do that like once you get enough experience, you can kind of tell. Like a turtle's nest, when you first look at it, kind of looks like a comma. And you can tell where she's laid her eggs by these little flipper marks right where she's laid her eggs. And she does this thing called camouflaging, which like she scoops sand and throws it behind her to, I guess, make the nest not so easily visible. So what we would do is like dig a little bit, and then you like poke your finger in, and then it just, there's a bit of leeway.
Yeah.
And once you can feel your finger go through, then you can feel where the egg chamber is.
Oh, wow. Okay.
And so we don't disturb the eggs at that point. Just want to know where the eggs are actually located. And then we put this metal grate on top and then drive like wooden stakes around it. And actually, just as a note is, there's a lot of different sea turtle conservation projects around the world, and their protection measures depend on the threats that the turtles face in the specific area.
Yeah.
So in some areas there's like a lot of people there, it's very touristy, so they have different measures, but this area particularly is really remote and there's barely any people. But the biggest threat was predation by foxes or like jackals and dogs. So
you have jackals in Greece?
yeah, golden jackals. They're not as I don't know, frequent.
Yeah.
They're not very popular.
Abundant.
but yeah, abundant, exactly. But a lot of foxes and dogs. So yeah, we would put this metal grate, and then driving the wooden stakes around it meant that none of the animals, or it made it harder for animals to dig into the nest and eat the eggs. And then we would just leave those in June. They would nest in June, and then in August they hatch, and that has its own set of problems, because there's some areas that have a lot of like restaurants and hotels with like lights in the night, and when the hatchlings, when they hatch, normally they would follow the light of the moon into the sea, but when there's a brighter source of light like behind them on the street or in the hotel, they would just follow the brightest light. So we would put like, what are those things called that are like beach mats? I guess like straw. Straw beach mats. We would like sew them together or staple them together and make like a sort of corridor, like surrounding the nest to block out the light, so that it would like lead the hatchlings towards the sea.
Yeah.
And so they wouldn't turn around and go to the lights of the hotel, which was really fun. And
it worked.
Yeah, for the most part, yeah. And just like seeing a nest hatch is just so emotional.
Yeah, I
bet. Like there's so many. There's like 80 to 100 that come out and they just run towards the sea, and it just feels like you're witnessing something like primal.
Yeah.
Like it's such a privilege to actually to witness that. It's amazing.
Yeah, they're
and it's
ridiculously
really,
cute as well.
Yeah, and it's really hard, like physical work, but it's so rewarding. Yeah. And then aside from the actual monitoring and conservation of the nest, there was like public outreach activities as well, also for tourists and for local communities, because a lot of the time there's like tensions between the NGOs activities and local communities, like for example, like because they need to make money as well, but you can't just go and tell them like turn off your lights at night. So a lot of it was like trying to liaise between the organization and the communities, and so that they can like help each other instead of Were you part of that liaising? Not really my first year, but then my second year they called me back to be a public awareness field leader, because I was one of the few volunteers that was Greek, that spoke Greek, because most of the people that come are like international from like the UK or Ireland or France. Yeah, so because I spoke Greek, I could talk to like both the tourists and the local communities, and that was my main role my second year.
Yeah. Where was this, by the way?
In the south. Well, the first year was like the southwest coast of Greece in a place called Kyparissia, and then the second year was like the mid-west coast. Okay. I don't know if you've seen a map of Greece, but like the south part of it has like fingers, so it was like on the second finger of it.
Okay. What's it called?
Yithio is the name of the town. Okay. It's really small. Yeah.
And where are you from in Greece?
Close to Athens.
Yeah, but you consider yourself Greek? Or?
Well, like half Turkish, half Greek.
Okay, right.
Like I was born in Istanbul.
Okay.
And I lived there for the first 7 years of my life.
Okay.
Yeah, but my family is from both countries, so.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah.
Do you have passports from both?
No, I just have a Greek one. It's much harder to travel with a Turkish passport than it is with a Greek one. And with the Greek one, it's part of the EU, so I just travel more easily.
Yep, no, makes total sense.
Yeah.
To me, anyway.
Yeah, but I do have like a Turkish identity card, but that's more like if I want to get into a club. They want to see my age, which they don't ask me anymore. But when they wanted to ask my age.
Wonderful.
Yeah.
Okay, and then what you did during your master's project, or aside from your master's project, this knowledge gatherer?
That was the job I had right after. Well, like a year after my master's project.
Oh, right, okay.
That was this 9-month research assistant position.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know, they basically saw my master's project about mapping community perceptions, and they wanted me to do something really similar for the southwest of Ireland. And there's a county called Kerry, and there's a peninsula in Kerry called the Evora Peninsula. And the project is based there, and they wanted me to do like a baseline survey of people's knowledge of and interests in the environment. So I made like an online survey asking like, where do you like to go? What recreational activities do you like to do? What species do you know of? What flora and fauna, or what particular things do you want to know more about? And then at the end of that, there was a lot of data, and then that could then be used by the project to, I guess, direct their future activities based on what people were interested in.
I think
it was totally desk-based though, because it was also lockdown, so it was just I just worked from home the whole time.
Of course, yes.
Yeah.
October 2020. Just saw that.
Yeah.
Whoops. Yeah, but your survey knowledge has been instrumental for my work as well, because two of the GSS students I work with, Marilyn and Valeria, they are currently crafting a survey, and we've all never done it. And your help has been
happy I could help. I was worried. I'm like not like the survey expert, but I was happy I could help.
Absolutely, you did. Thank you. Okay, and so for now you're doing the PhD since last year, 2021.
Yeah.
And then it's until 2024, or
it's 3 years.
3 years, okay.
3 years, but maybe there's a COVID extension, but I'm not counting on that. I'm just gonna pretend like it's just 3 years.
Right. Okay. Yeah.
Try to do everything then.
Smart.
Yeah.
How long would the COVID extension be? Do you know?
I think 6 months, but
okay.
Yeah, I'm just gonna pretend like that doesn't exist.
Okay. And what's after? Do you want to pursue your dream of marine biology, or?
It's the big question.
Yeah,
is it? The big question, because part of me wants to continue in academia, maybe as a postdoc. Part of me wants to become like a cheesemaker. I would love to make cheese.
Okay.
Or work at a natural history museum for like the next 50 years, because I love spouting like nature facts at people, and that's like the perfect job to do. I really don't know. Like I'm still kind of ambivalent about staying in academia, because there's parts of it I really like, and there's parts of it that are kind of hard.
Absolutely.
So yeah, like I really love the research aspect of it. I love the research process, but there's a lot of like peripheral things, like the meetings and the conferences, and like the whole like pressure to publish papers, which is kind of, I don't know if that's what I want to do my entire life.
Yeah, okay.
But we'll see.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Or maybe I'll be a baker, because I love
baker, cheesemaker.
Yeah, something.
Yeah. All of the above. Well, you've had a super exciting life, and I think there's more exciting stuff to come. I'm excited to hear about it later.
Yeah. We'll catch up at the next podcast.
Exactly.
Or who knows? Maybe you'll come to my bakery.
Yes. have some baked goods with cheese in them.
Yeah.
Perfect.
Yeah.
Okay, so this would mark the end of the podcast. Do you have anything you want to add, or anything we didn't cover?
No. Just thank you so much for giving me a chance to talk about myself.
Absolutely. Yeah. I really enjoyed it.
Yeah. Thank you so much.
Cool
Me
CV.
too. Thanks. Bye, everyone.
Bye.
Want to dive deeper? Surf over to hifmb.de or follow us on Twitter at hifmb_OL.